Hi guys, Steady Eddie here, coming to you all the way from sunny Thailand. I'm still in the lively city of Pattaya, where I've been now for the best part of 2 months. It has turned out to be a pleasant couple of months, and I also enjoyed my little adventure to Koh Chang. So, what I want to talk to you about in this video is a subject that's easy to overlook when you're relaxing and having a good time. It's the subject of safety in Thailand. It's easy to take it for granted, really, but Thailand is in fact a very safe country in which to holiday or travel around. Now, not everyone shares this point of view, and the reason for this is some highly reported cases of murders in certain places. Yes, there are places, islands even, where they have hit the headlines around the world because of some brutal murders. I'll come back to this later. What you need to know if you're on the other side of the world and are planning on visiting this amazing country is how safe is it for the tourist or those planning on staying there long term. Well, the best way I know of explaining this is by comparing it to your own country. How safe is that? Well, my own country is England, and I live in a sort of smallest town in the southwest. I'm not here to talk about the dreadful subject of knife crime, which is never far from the headlines in the UK. That is truly awful, but it seems to be in certain cities and is often gang-related. I'm sure there is similar that goes on in Thailand, but thankfully that is not likely to affect the tourist in either country. So let's do a few comparisons. If you were going to get robbed in Thailand, where is it most likely to be? Well, I have to say bag snatching is quite common, especially in Bangkok. I've seen it happen. Thai thieves will target tourist backpacks, often racing past on motorcycles and snatching what they can. Answer is, wear your backpack on the front of your body and be vigilant at all times. How about muggings? Well, thankfully, violent street robbery is not common in Thailand, even in Bangkok. Provided you don't wear gold or expensive looking jewellery, you should be safe to walk around. Just don't tempt thieves and you'll be okay. So does this kind of robbery happen in England? Of course it does, especially in the big cities. Thieves on motorbikes will snatch mobile phones, bags or whatever they can in places like London. And muggings, actual violent robbery? Yes, that does happen in the big cities all too often. As capital cities go, I'd feel a lot safer walking around Bangkok than London at night. Now this brings me to the subject of walking around a place. Pattaya is about the same size as the town I live in England, and I walk everywhere. I don't like getting public transport for short distances. I like a good walk. And this is what I've noticed over the last couple of months being here. How pleasant it is to walk around Pattaya as opposed to my own town in England. Because the fact is that England has an abundance of something that Thailand has very little of, and that is skanks. Yes, you heard me right, skanks. In case you're not familiar with this word, let me explain. Modern England is infested with skanks in this day and age. These are people, usually young men and a few women of British origin, who don't want to work. What they want to do is take drugs and drink and make a nuisance of themselves. And they will steal whatever they can to feed their habit. And when there's nothing left to steal, they will walk the streets, sometimes in groups, begging for money from decent, hard-working people. In every town, every city, every seaside resort around the UK, you will come across skanks. And they will want money from you. They will want to borrow your mobile phone because they need to make an urgent call, which is probably a drugs deal, and they can often get aggressive if you refuse. I am absolutely disgusted and sick to death of skanks in England. It has got to the stage when I cannot walk along my local high street without some skank approaching me and thinking he has the right to some of my hard-earned money. And when they strike up a conversation, they are very well rehearsed in their ways. One skank said to me a while back, "Hey mate, can you do me a favour?" I said, "No." He said, "How do you know what the favour is when I haven't asked you?" I replied, "All I know is I don't owe you any favours." So why are there so many skanks in modern England? Well, it has something to do with the benefit culture, the drug culture. It's estimated, by the way, that as much as 2/3 of all crime in UK is drug related. And the fact that we are a soft-touch country that allows people to get away with anything, and a police force that doesn't seem to have the time for such trivial matters as aggressive begging. Compare this to Thailand. Here in Pattaya, I can walk around day and night, and the most hassle I'm likely to get is from massage girls or the odd street seller. I've never had an aggressive beggar yet stand in front of me to block my path here in Thailand. Thais are decent, hard-working people. Lazy, good-for-nothing skanks don't seem to be common here. So here's another comparison. How about ATMs in Thailand? A lot of them are outdoor and you may be drawing out a large amount of cash. Are they safe to use? Well, yes, you can use an outdoor ATM quite safely here in Thailand, so long as you keep your wits about you and make sure you know who's watching you. I've never had any problem. Compare that to England. Is it safe to use an outdoor ATM in an English high street? Oh, where do I start? Well, I have to say, I have given up using outdoor ATMs in my English town after a series of incidents. I've found so many times that as I'm about to put my card into the machine, some sly bastard will appear out of nowhere trying to strike up a conversation. And like I said before, these skanks are very well rehearsed in their conversation. You could call it perhaps premeditated begging. A while back I needed money from the ATM. I recall it was a Sunday morning at about 6 AM. So I went to the bank, which is located in a pedestrianised street. As I approached the ATM, I looked around. Not a soul about. I like to think I'm cautious, and I was sure there was no one around. So I went to the ATM, took my card out of my wallet and put it in the machine. I was about to type in the PIN number when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around to see some skanky bloke about 3 feet away from me. He had an unlit cigarette in his hand. He said, "Hey mate, have you got a light?" Just where the hell did he come from? He'd obviously been hiding in a doorway waiting for someone to use the machine. I aborted that attempt to draw money out, skanky bastard. The cigarette, by the way, is often used as an opener. They always want money from you. Girls can be just as bad in England. Here's another ATM attempt, same pedestrianised high street. It was a Sunday afternoon and I approached the ATM. I noticed a girl who I'd seen before hanging around, a female skank. She was about 50 metres away and she'd already clocked me as I approached the machine. With no one else around, I put my card into the machine. Before entering my PIN number, I glanced over to the girl. And she was running. She was running right at me. Running at me. In fact, with my bank card already in the machine, she'd already ran at me to make physical contact. She hysterically said something about she needed money, and I thought at one moment she was going to grab my hand to help me put the PIN number in. I aborted that attempt as well. After a couple more similar incidents, I decided I wasn't going to be using any outdoor ATMs in my local high street again. I find it totally disgusting that these skanky lowlives can loiter about ATMs, waiting for some gullible fool to give them money. The police know about this, but then, what's law and order all about in England these days? I'm not so sure. Now, if you think I'm making too much of an issue about skanky people and aggressive begging in England, well, there are occasions when you realise how bad it can be. I mentioned the guy who wanted a light for a cigarette. Well, that's a common opener for skanks begging for money. And I know of a case that happened in the town where I live, where a man lost his life over a dispute about a cigarette. It happened a few years ago. An innocent man walking home alone from the pub at night. He was approached by 3 skanks who asked him for a cigarette. The man said he didn't have any, and the skanks accused him of lying. They followed an altercation, things got physical, and the end result was the innocent man was knocked to the ground and cracked his head on a wall. He died. The three lowlives were given the kind of pathetic, minimal sentences which just doesn't fit such a crime. Good old England. Now, I'm not saying that incidents like this don't happen in Thailand. It is well known that if you get involved in an altercation with Thai people, then you are going to be outnumbered. Thai people don't like showing loss of face, and if you don't back down, neither will they. What I am saying is that I can walk around the streets and beaches of Thailand with far less concern than I would back in England these days. And then there's the roads. Okay, so Thailand's roads can be a bit crazy, but so can England. And I get the feeling incidents of road rage are far more common in England than they are here. In Southeast Asian countries, they like to beat their horn a lot. They do this to let other motorists know that they are there, or to beep something they don't like. It's common behaviour in Southeast Asia, and it doesn't mean anything too bad. Do they beat their horn in England? Well, nowadays on the stressful traffic jam roads of the UK, the beeping of a horn is seen as an insult to another motorist, or even a sign of aggression. You don't believe me? Try beeping your horn regularly on the English roads these days, and it won't be long before someone turns his car around and comes after you looking for a fight. So back to those highly publicised murders in Thailand. The ones that shock tourists so much that they label one place, Koh Tao, as Murder Island. Well, it is true that murders of tourists do happen in Thailand, and also some tourists disappear, never to be found again. What is quite shocking is that quite a few of these highly publicised murders in Thailand are of female Western tourists. A woman tourist getting murdered on a paradise island? It makes for a shocking story. Fact is, you are more likely to die in a motorbike accident than you are to be murdered here. And murders happen back in England, don't forget. Where I live in England, I can walk less than 200 metres away and show you an old house which is being converted to flats and is known locally as the murder house. Yes, in recent years, 3 separate murders have taken place in that house, mostly involving neighbourly disputes. You don't have to travel 6,000 miles to run the risk of murder. It can happen to you in your own home. Okay, so I've waffled on a bit here. The opinions expressed in this vlog are my own opinions, and you don't have to agree with me. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope the subject matter hasn't depressed you too much. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do so. And remember to press that all-important notification bell for latest uploads. So, this is Steady Eddie signing off and saying thanks for watching. Have a great day, a great evening at whatever you're doing, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.